Girl, I have been talking about this interview for weeks. I have been
Really?
so excited to talk to you. I've been telling
That's so
everybody,
awesome.
I've been showing everybody your TikToks. I've been like, look at her. She's so cute.
Oh, well, thank you. I've been so looking forward to this too. I'm so excited to be able to be doing this.
Well, I'm so glad that you're excited. That makes me happy.
Oh,
Um,
good.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Jay Walker, and this is Blind Dates. I am here with my beautiful guest, Miss Judith Adams, the Cajun Cook, otherwise known as the Blind Cajun Cook. I should be more specific. Um,
Mhm.
so, Judith, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your story and who you are and what you do?
Oh, well, okay. I have not always been blind. I'm 37. Started losing my vision in October of 21 due to very high blood pressure that caused some strokes behind my eyes. So I started, the first thing that went was my peripheral. And I could tell, like, it seemed like week by week, my vision was getting worse and worse. And by that January, I had only like perception. So now I barely even have that. So I'm still adjusting sometimes to not being able to see when I went, 35 years as someone with 20/20 vision to where I can't see anything anymore. So it's definitely been a big life change for me and my family.
Yeah, I
But
can
I'm
definitely
just,
understand that.
yeah, just, getting through it day by day still and just learning how to live with it and just, it's hard because, I can no longer work or anything like that. So that took a lot, and sometimes that still gets to me. Just not being able to really be around the people that I used to be able to, go out on my own. But I just try to remind myself that it could always be worse. So I have a great support system. So and and for me, if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be the way I am now. I'd probably just be a miserable person. So I'm thankful for him and just for all of the support because it's just been such a traumatic for me for a very long
Hmm.
time, and I'm just learning day by day still how to live with being someone who's blind.
Yeah, it's a complete 180. Like people kind of describe it as like
Mhm.
taking a sharp left turn, but it's more like, diving off of the cliff into icy water and it's pitch black and you don't know where you
Absolutely.
are. Like it's a lot more
Hmm.
intense than just taking a
Yes.
left turn.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you said that you started going blind in October of 21. What was that process
Right.
like? You said that in your video, you said that you started kind of just seeing, like it just kind of started fading almost. What was that like? What was that experience?
Right. It was just, well, I started with like really bad headaches and my eyes were really watering. I thought it was sinuses. So I was pumping myself with sinus medicine that was just making it worse just because of, I didn't realize it was due to my blood pressure. So I remember being at work one day and everything just kind of got a little darker. And I was like, that's so weird. And to this day, I don't know why I didn't go straight to the doctor then. I just wanted to chalk it up to just a real something minor. Um, but that following like that Sunday, I couldn't even get out of bed, and I noticed. I mean, I just just everything was so much darker, and I was like, oh my god, like what is going on? And it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. So I went and found out what was going on. That was because of my blood pressure. I went to the eye doctor and everything, and I asked her. I said, "Am I going to turn blind?" And she's like, "Oh no, you're not going to turn blind." Well, a month or two later, I basically, I was. So it just, like I said, it just slowly started. It's like each week it would get worse and worse. And they said, they couldn't do anything for me because what I was diagnosed with is optical neuropathy. So it's not actually it's the nerves around my eyes. They
Mm-hmm.
just, due to the strokes I had behind them, but they just lost, the blood couldn't flow to them. And so there's just really no cure for what I have right now. Now there may be in 10, 20 years they're working on it, but so it's just, it was a very terrifying process when all of this first started, when I realized how bad it was actually getting.
That that's really hard for somebody to like give you that kind of hope to say like, "Oh no, you're not going to be blind. Like you're fine."
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
for it to just turn around like that, like that's I feel like
Right.
that is
So
for
bad.
me specifically, that would be the hardest part, would to be have
Oh,
to
it
have the hope.
was. I did. And so I went back to a different doctor, and he said, yeah, because when I first went, I think it was like 20/80. And then when I had ended up going back, my vision was 2800.
Oh my gosh.
And so it just, I mean, got worse so fast. And like I said, by January, I had light perception, and now I barely even have that. So it was just all very sudden, very, very sudden.
Hmm. There was another thing that really shocked me when I listened to your TikTok about your story, and that was that you went to an urgent care and they turned you away because they thought you had a
Right.
brain tumor.
Right. Because I told them my symptoms. I said I had I had a severe headache, and that my vision was just kind of weird. And the girl at the tree, the registration kind of just backed her chair up, and I'm like, what's going on? And so she called one of the nurse practitioners, and that she said, I'm sorry, but we can't help you because with your symptoms, it sounds like you have a brain tumor. And I was like, are you serious? Like, are you really telling me that? Well, of course, that terrified me. She said, we cannot help you. And they wouldn't triage me or anything.
Uh,
So yeah. So
they
I
wouldn't
went
even
back home.
see you?
Yeah, she wouldn't, they didn't triage me or anything. And so my mom comes, and her friend who's a nurse came and checked my blood pressure, and we're like, 206 over 160. And she said, you've got to get to the ER. You're going to have, a stroke. So, and I got scans. It was obviously not a brain tumor, but yeah, they refused to even check my blood pressure or anything. They just told me to leave, that I probably had a brain tumor.
I literally, what was going through your brain when they were like, oh yeah, you might have a brain tumor. Bye.
Mhm.
Like, what was your
Right.
thoughts?
I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, I probably do have one. And when I finally went to the ER and I told them, the nurse and the doctors, what I was told, like they were in shock too. They're like, how can you just say that? Like make that assessment on somebody where you refuse to see them. Like,
Yeah.
and I was absolutely terrified. And so I refused to ever go back to that urgent care. I'll tell you that. It was terrible. It's one of the scariest times of my life for sure.
I cannot even imagine. And then
Hmm.
you said that I mean, your blood pressure was extraordinarily high. So
Hmm.
what was like your mom's reaction and her friend's reaction when they saw like those numbers? Were they like just freaking out?
Oh, absolutely. Because I ended up going to my mom's house, and her friend, family friend that's a nurse, came, and she checked it, and she's like, I'm not leaving until you go to the hospital. She's like, she didn't know how I hadn't had a stroke already, just because of how high it was. And like I said, it was so bad, I couldn't even walk. My mom was terrified. She, they my dad, I mean, everybody was just so scared. My husband, it was just, they were all absolutely terrified that I was gonna, because I couldn't even walk or anything. And it was just scary experience for everyone.
Yeah, and they said the final kind of diagnosis was strokes behind the eyes.
Behind the eyes, right?
So could that have escalated into something much worse?
Yeah, I'm lucky that I didn't actually have one like affect me, like my motor skills or anything like that, because that's what probably would have ended up happening. And that's why I'm thankful that like it didn't reach, like my brain or anything, because it if I would have waited, it would have to where, I might not even be able to talk. It could have definitely turned into something a lot worse than what it did. So that's what, when I think about not being able to see, I'm like, well, at least, I didn't have an actual stroke to where I might not be able to walk or even talk,
Hmm.
so I always remind myself it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, yeah, I'm still reeling with the whole brain tumor thing. I cannot believe that they turned you
Oh,
away.
yes. And my dad was for years, he went up to that urgent care and let them know. He gave them a piece of his mind, I'll tell you that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, they're lucky things weren't pursued further, but I was just at the point to where I was just done with, I was furious. So I don't go there. And if people ask me where to go, I do not suggest that place.
Yeah, because I mean, like, if you think about it, all they had to do was take your blood pressure
Hmm.
and it could have been avoided.
Yep. Right.
And
And
they
they
didn't,
refused.
that's, I, oh my gosh, I literally cannot even
Hmm.
imagine. So
It was that's scary.
over the course of those months that you were losing your sight, obviously you still had this kind of person on your side that was like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be fine. You're not gonna go blind." But like
Hmm.
emotionally, how were you handling like the process of going blind?
I would, to be honest, I handled it a lot better than I thought I would. Like I said, I said a lot of prayers, had a lot of people praying for me. And um, like I said, when I could still, at that point between like October and December, I could still see like, faces and
Mm-hmm.
um, not obviously as good as I could, but I could still maneuver and, see things, see my family's faces. And um, I just, but like I said, my peripheral was completely gone. So I just kind of thought, I was like, okay, if it stays like this, it's okay. I can still, yeah, I might not be able to drive, but I can see people, like I can see what I'm doing and
Mm-hmm.
see colors. And so, but when it got to that January to where it just kind of all went away, I mean, there was a lot of times to where, I mean, I would just break down because I was like, I don't know how I can do this, how I'm going to be able to, because for me, turning blind was just always, being blind was always my biggest fear. Like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine being blind, and then it's my reality. And and I still have my days to where I just kind of break down about it. And,
Mm-hmm.
but I just have to, it's just what I have to get through right now, what I try to tell myself. And it's what I did then. And that's what's gotten me through it too. It's just, I don't have a choice. You
Mm-hmm.
have to make the best out of it. And I don't always do that, but those first few, it was a really hard for all of us, for me and my family. And it was,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I'll say that it's just such a life altering event. But like I said, we got through it and we're still getting through it day by day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that the process of losing sight, especially with emotions, is more of like a straight line kind of thing. But in reality, it's very
Hmm.
bumpy, and you're not always going to be going on the upper path. Like you're going to have the days where do break down and stuff like that. And that doesn't mean that you're
Absolutely.
regressing. It just means you're grieving.
Hmm. Right, you're grieving. That's what I say. It's like when I talk to my parents or my husband or somebody about, I'm like, it's a grieving process for me. I'm grieving over the loss of my eyesight, and of
Hmm.
course they're like, they empathize with me, but it's like even my husband's like, I can be there for, and he's the best husband. He's like, but I have no idea what you're going through. I just
Hmm.
wish I could fix it because he's like, I can't even imagine what that's like. But he's still, he's there for me along with my family. And so they helped me get through it.
Yeah, you seem to have a really great support system, just
Oh,
based
I
off of
do.
like
I
your
really do.
videos and just this conversation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
I'm blessed, very blessed.
Your husband Tyler in his video on your TikTok talks about like how there
Mhm.
was some darkness in the family. What was the process like of bringing yourselves out of that darkness and, taking your situation by the reins and kind of bringing yourself back into the light?
We just had to, because it was such a huge adjustment for him too, and my daughter, and he has to do, I mean, so much more than most husbands would ever even ever do. I mean,
Hmm.
he has to do so much. He has to set the washing machine for me, like for my cooking. He preps everything, and there's so much that is on his plate now too, to where he had to learn how to live with this too. And same with my daughter, and it was just there's times that it was just so overwhelming for all of us, and so we would just sit and talk about it and kind of just vent to one another about, like all what he has to do now, which he does it with no complaints ever. And I feel bad that he has to do all this. Um, and I'm so blessed that I have a husband that does. And it was just things the way we got through it is just we had to talk it out. We went and talked to our priest about it, and we're still, like I said, even with that, it's still just a new thing that we have to get through each day because it was just such an adjustment for all three of us. And there was still times to where it's like and I know he does, I'm sure he gets overwhelmed. And so we would just, we pray and we talk about it, and we would try to talk about, okay, ways to make things easier, or and we get through it, and we have to realize, okay, it's not going to happen overnight. Still, it's still new for all of us. But there was times to where it was just like, how are we going to do this? But we're still figuring it out, and we're getting it done.
Yeah. Who gave you the
Hmm.
motivation to kind of get back into the kitchen as early as you did? Because I know for most people, after 2, 3 years of losing their sight, they're not making shrimp scampi. They're not making the things that you're making. So how did you find that motivation to kind of get back into the kitchen for like and do something that is so scary for a lot of people?
Well, to be honest, it's started one time. My husband came home and said, "You've got to listen to this TikTok sh- to this TikTok shift." I was like, "Okay." So he plays it, and it was cooking with Cajun, and he was like explaining, no, he's also from Louisiana. So I'm listening, and I was instantly hooked. I hearing the commentating, like I knew what he was doing, because he would explain, and I would hear like the spoon scraping the pot and like the sizzle. And so my husband sent him a message, just tell him how much we love his videos. So he ended up asking for a number and called us and invited us to go to an event with him and his wife. So we get there on a Friday, we get to know them, and that Saturday was that event. And it was him along with a few other TikTok chefs, and they were just all so welcoming. And it was just we had the best time. Well, a couple of weeks later, I told my husband Tyler, I said, I want to try to start cooking, because I was so inspired by cooking with Cajun because I could tell how much he loved to do it. And I said, I want to try. So I started doing it, and I'm sure it was a train wreck to watch. It probably still is at times. Um, but I started getting more comfortable, and then I got in contact with Bear the Voice, and he's also been helping me too. We love him too. And between them and other TikTok chefs we've gotten to know, and some of my followers, they are so they motivate me and inspire me so much to keep doing it because it's such a different way I have to do it. Like my ears and my hands, that's my eyes now when I'm cooking. I have to just feel for everything. And I get discouraged, and I feel like sometimes I'm like, I bet I look like I'm just so dumb. And sometimes I'll drop something, but I still have fun. Dude, it's just become like an outlet to me. And yeah, obviously have to have my husband's help with a lot of it, like dicing and cutting stuff. But it just became almost like a therapy for me. And to be honest, back when I could see, I did not cook this much like I am now. I did not. My husband was the cook. So I was just so inspired by say with Cooking with Cajun and all the other ones I met there, that if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be doing it because I would feel like I wouldn't have the confidence in myself to do it. And so I'm so glad that I am, because it's one of the things I feel like I can, and I look so forward to doing it now. I love it. Absolutely love it. Even though I might get flustered or something, because I still want it to be perfect. But Tyler's like, you've got to realize you're blind. It's not going to be like it was when you could see, or for anybody else that can see. You have to do things differently, and that's okay. And so I accepted that, and I have a blast, and I'm so, so glad I started doing it, because I love it. It's become a therapy for me.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really hard for people to accept is that you aren't going to be able to do things the same way as you did before.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so finding kind of the bliss and the love in, the adjustments is kind of like the way to go. Because if you sit there the whole time and are just like, oh, well, this was so much better when I could see, then you're not going to find joy
Right.
in anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You're absolutely right.
so your husband has very wise words.
Yes. Yes. He gets me through a lot. He does.
So I know when I cook, I still have hesitation about like certain things, like for instance, like cooking with oil or something like that, because I'm afraid of
Mm-hmm.
flames. And so how did you overcome kind of the fear of like where did you start, I guess is a better question to ask. Like where did you start? What small things did you start with? And then how did you build yourself up to doing the things that you do on your TikTok?
But to be honest, I remember the first thing I cooked was a meatball gravy. So Tyler helped me make my first little meatball off camera, just so I could kind of feel, because I hadn't cooked. That was the first time I had cooked since I had lost my vision. So he's helping me form the little meatball, and I'm trying to be like, okay, I need to do this. So it took me a while to realize, and I'm not sure how I haven't burnt myself before yet, because I hate using a pot holder now. I hate it because I need to feel it.
Because you can't feel it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it just obstructs it messes me up. And so I started with just, I would fry a little something down, and then, I'd make a little gravy, because that's not too hard. It's not like I'm frying something, or because I get scared of the oil too. Like
Hmm.
frying, it took me a while to be able to do that. So I did like a little rice and gravy, and then a couple other ones, and then I went on to we were frying some fish. So that was terrifying for me, because we're doing it in a black pot, so I don't know where to drop it,
Where to
like,
drop it.
because I don't want to
Mhm.
stick my finger in the grease, you know. And one time I was frying, I think, some backstrap, and I just held it up way too high. I mean, and it just splattered into the grease. But I didn't get burned or anything. But I'm just having to learn how to I use my spoon for a lot. Like, just like if I'm walking up to the skillet, I'll have a
Mhm.
long spoon to where I can kind of use, like, to feel. Okay, my skillet's right here, and I have things like in certain order. Like if I'm seasoning, Tyler has, I'm like, okay, I want this seasoning, this, and this. And so it was just little ways that I had to start knowing what worked for me.
Mhm.
That's why I started with the gravy, because that's, for me, that was the easiest thing. And I still have, to me, when I do the simple things like having to spread something, that's where I mess up. I don't know why, but I have more trouble with that than actually cooking over the stove.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like Tyler just told me, because I made some sliders yesterday, and I was having so much struggles, like having such a struggle spreading on um the mayonnaise and stuff on the bread. And I said, why is this so hard for me when, over the stove, I'm so much more comfortable now. But if I'm spreading or anything like that, that's where I feel like I mess up. It makes no sense.
Interesting. I wonder if your brain
Hmm.
is just like adapted to doing hard work. And so when it comes to like the simple
I,
stuff, it's like,
that's
wait a minute.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I said, I don't understand why this happens, but it does. And the easy things are just, they kick my butt.
How do you encourage people, or how would you encourage people to kind of try out recipes that they're more afraid of and kind of spread into their uncomfort zone?
I've actually talked to a few people about this, and like I say, it's like if I can do it, um, and I can't see anything that I'm doing, like just yeah, you might mess up, and that's okay. But with I learned with many things, you can just kind of tweak it how you want and try something that you feel like you can't make because I do that. That's how I feel a lot of the times. But and you might mess up a few things here and there, but I mean it's okay. Just have fun with it. To me, is the best advice. Don't make it seem like it's a don't automatically think you can't do it. Like just try and you'll probably have a blast doing it. And that's the only way you can get to kind of, expand on. Because one of my mom's friends, that's what she told me how some of the recipes I do look hard. And I said, you just have to go off, like just have fun doing it, because if I'm making something, I don't know, it's not like I can read a recipe. I'll have to ask Tyler, okay, so how much of flour, how much flour do I need and when do I need to turn this? But I just have fun with it. And if you mess it up, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I think that's really hard for people to kind of grasp is that it is okay to mess up and
Hmm.
it is okay to,
Yeah.
and you're gonna burn yourself, you're gonna, drop
Hmm.
stuff, you're gonna mess up your whole meal on accident. Like I have accidentally poured like an entire thing of salt into a
Oh
um
no.
into a dish thinking it was a different ingredient, and I didn't
Oh
figure that out until
no.
I was serving it to people and I was like, "Oh, sorry
Oh
guys. Whoopsie."
no.
So,
Hmm.
and it's just like a part of life. And, especially
Yeah.
as a blind person, you just got to get used to adjusting and like kind of thinking on your feet.
Right. That is, you're absolutely right. I agree 100%.
So, what has been like the hardest thing that you've made so far? Has there been anything that you've been like, all right, nope, can't do this one?
The hardest thing I've made was actually it was a pork roast, rice and gravy, and I had to fry down the roast.
Hmm.
Like I had to fry down my sausage and all that, and then I had to fry down the roast. Well, with this recipe, you keep the roast whole at first. So having to fry that down, with some tongs, and I didn't know what side. Like I feel like I was gonna drop it. I was getting so aggravated. And because I just felt like I could not get a good grip on this roast. And I told Tyler, I said, I'm gonna just, I know I'm gonna screw this up, and it was just, I said, this should be so simple. I said, but the roast kept sliding off the tongs, and I'm trying to get it to where it, because I know I need to, it needs to cook on both sides. And it was just, and then once we got it in the oven, an hour later, we have to cut it up. That was a pain. And I was like, this was the hardest thing yet that I have had to cook. And that was what I told him we were done. I said, I harp and harp about how much fun I have doing these. And I do. I said, but I did not have fun messing with that roast. No, that roast got the best of me that day. It did.
So what do you do in the like kind of situations where you're kind of overwhelmed and frustrated in the kitchen? Is Tyler more your outlet?
Yes, yes. He tells me, it's okay, I mean, and like he tells me all the time, you can't, it's not gonna be perfect, like because he's like, quit being so hard on yourself. It's not gonna be perfect. You're the blind Cajun cook. People know you can't see, so just remember that. He said that, like I mentioned earlier, it might take you longer to do things than the normal, person that can see. And so he's like, just it'll be okay, we'll get it. He's like, and sometimes he'll kind of grab my arm and just kind of help me, um, move it or stir something, or if I'm putting too much seasoning, he'll kind of grab my elbow. Um, so he just tells me, that's what this page is about, to show how you can cook, but it's still going to be struggles, it's fun to seeing how it is, for people who can see, to see what it's like for someone who's blind to cook, because it's completely different than how someone who can see does cook. He
Hmm.
said that's the whole point of these videos. So,
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's really
hmm
cute. Like I'm seeing the visual of him like helping you stir and like all like the stuff,
hmm
and I'm like that's such like an intimate process. And I think, is
hmm
how has this whole process of him helping you cook and helping you figure out this, has that strengthened your relationship at all?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Now, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes we might snap at each other here and there,
Of course.
like in the process. But other than that, it has definitely strengthened our marriage so much.
Hmm.
It really has. It's just something that we can do together that we enjoy, and even my daughter, sometimes she'll come and help, and it's just not, but I don't put her on camera just because I'm not comfortable really doing that yet.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just become just kind of like a family thing to where we just, laugh or sometimes, like I said, snap at each other but most of the time we're having a good time, and it's just a bonding thing for us that we can do together,
Hmm.
which I absolutely love.
It's a very like human process, I think. It's very necessary.
Hmm
Um,
Right.
so you said you do have a daughter. So what was the transition like taking care of her after you went blind?
Oh, it was hard. And actually the day that all this started was on her birthday,
Oh, of course
which
it
was
was.
terrible.
Hmm.
It was so bad. And the week after, it took an entire week for my blood pressure to finally go down to where I was able to get out of bed.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that it was terrible. So, she would come in the morning for school, and I would still, I'd brush her hair while I was laying in bed, and Tyler, would get her ready, and bring her to school. And it's just I can't it, and I know it affects her not as much as it did Nell, because gotten she now helps me. Like if she sees I'm about to run into something, she'll grab me and or mama move to the left or the right. But it's been really hard, because I can't just, jump in the car and us have like a little girls'
Hmm.
day or anything like that. And I miss being able to do that. And and even going to the school, I'll go to all her little events, but it sucks, I can't physically see her during her, the
Hmm.
little her, because she's in the band, like her band concert. I was there, but I couldn't see her, and it was just that's been hard on both of us.
I
It's
can
just
imagine, yeah.
yeah, just that, but we're still very very close. She helps me a lot, and she knows I'll do whatever I can, even though I can't physically see her. She knows I'll do whatever I can. I'll make sure still to be a part of everything that's going on in her
Hmm.
life.
And did you still like prepare meals and stuff for her? Like not necessarily like, the elaborate Blind
Oh
Cajun Cook
yeah.
meals, but like,
Oh yeah, I do. I love fixing her plate, and I can bring it to her, and but half the time she doesn't even eat what I cook. So half the time she doesn't want that. But I like fixing her lunch in the morning in her lunchbox, and Tyler normally have it out, you know, in the fridge so I can get it all together. So there's still things like that I can do.
hmm. Do those little
Yeah.
acts kind of make you feel accomplished and kind of more?
It does. It really does. It's like makes me feel proud that well, at least I can still do this because I love fixing up, like her lunch, and just I'll still do her hair and all kind of that. And I love that I'm still able to do that. It is a feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah, I think she's gonna be like she's gonna have a really great perspective like as an adult. I think that's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
really cool to see like because like yeah, like right
Mm-hmm.
now it might be really difficult, but she's gonna be able to tell people and like educate everybody on like this is what, being accommodating is. This is what being accepting is. This is what being respectful is like.
Mm-hmm.
And these are just like the little tools that she's picking up without even like realizing it. So
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
that's going to be a really cool transition to see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, your husband stated in his video that TikTok has been your outlet and your coping mechanism. Tell me about that. How has it kind of assisted with your coping process?
Well, because to be honest with all this, I since turning blind and everything, I've lost. I really don't talk to a whole lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not working, and I've lost quite a few friends or friends that I don't really talk to anymore. So doing having my TikTok page, I mean, we have just gotten to know so many people, and I love that. Like, like every night at 7, we normally go live because that's how I'm able to just interact with people, to socialize.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward to that so much, just getting to know new people, getting to know all these people because I felt really isolated for a long time because I was just, I wasn't around my work family. I don't really talk to a lot of my old friends, and it was depressing. So with TikTok, we have just met so many amazing people, and it's like I so look forward to just talking to them, and I absolutely love it. That's how I socialize now. Like each day is just asking random questions or people ask me random things, and it has helped me so much because I'm able to talk to people. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
just sitting by myself with my dogs, and I love, even if it's Tyler, he'll read out the questions and I'll answer. It's just knowing that I have them to talk to, and it's helped me out so much between that and my cooking and just all the amazing people I have gotten to know through TikTok. I never thought that would be possible, but they've helped me more ways than they'll ever know.
Have you connected with like other moms that have gone blind and been like, "Hey, this is my story. What are you doing for this?"
Actually, no, I haven't met any. There was a man that had sent a message that said he was legally blind and that how he looked, the videos to him were inspiring. They have a girl that I know whose daughter will eventually be blind,
Mm-hmm.
and she's texted me and has given me advice because I think it's been a lifelong issue for her daughter. So she's like, I'm not actually blind, but I know what it's like to live with someone who is. And so she's helped me out a lot too,
Mm-hmm.
with just giving me advice on things. And but as far as talking to a mom who's also blind, I haven't talked to anyone like that yet.
Girl, join a group. There are so many and they are so funny.
I need to. I need to. I definitely need to. I need to look that up. Get Tyler to look that up.
Um, so you are still very new to the process of blindness. Like
Mhm.
2021 was not that long ago. Um,
Right.
so where are you kind of in the process of learning and like what do you not know how to do yet that you still really want to learn how to do? Not necessarily regarding cooking, but just in general.
Well, I know I've thought about the Braille stuff, but I don't even know how to get that going. And it's still, with it being still so new to me, it's just one of those things that is scary for me to think that I have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And even like I don't, or just even like getting around places, because if we go anywhere, Tyler's holding my hand, directing me because at this point I've not used the stick. I don't know why that's so terrible that I feel that way, but I'm just not at that point to
Mm-hmm.
where I want to have to use that, even though I know I need to. Um, because I mean I can get around my house fine most of the time, and my mom and dad's, but I know at some point I'm gonna have to, like with learning Braille or getting a little stick or something. It's scary for me to have
Mm-hmm.
to think that I have to learn that.
Yeah, the cane is very intimidating. It is very like
Mhm.
because it's more than just like, oh, here's your cane, this is how you're gonna get around. It's like this is my identity now. Like people will
Mm-hmm.
look at me with this cane and think of me differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely can
Exactly.
understand where you're coming from in regards to like not wanting to, you know, not wanting to put it in your hand yet. Like I get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like that's what I've told my husband and a few other people. I said I just don't want to be the one, walking around with, like I said, the cane. And my mom's friend was like, "Well, I don't feel like anybody would judge you. Like they'd probably be, oh, well, look, she's blind and look at her move around, use the cane." And I said, "I get it." I said, "But I'm still just not comfortable with that idea yet. I'm
Yeah.
just not comfortable with it. That scares me.
Yeah.
It,
And that's
it
totally
just scares me."
understandable.
Hmm.
Have you ever heard of the Louisiana Center for the Blind?
No, my husband's cousin had told him something about, I can't remember where it was at, somewhere in New Orleans.
Mm.
Um, but I don't think I've heard of what of that.
So they're basically just an organization that assist blind people on like learning everyday tasks, learning how to get back on their feet, all that kind of stuff. And they have them, there's one in Colorado, there's one, there's schools for the blind all over, but the Louisiana
Mhm.
State School for the Blind is very like renowned for its ability to help the blind. And
Okay.
they can if you want to learn anything, go there because they can do it for
Really?
you.
Oh wow. Okay. I'm gonna definitely have to do some research on that then.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Hmm.
I will send you some links.
Please do, because I know I need to learn. There's a lot I need to learn.
Hmm.
Mm. Like I
Um,
can't even put it like in every morning, like for my toothbrush. Tyler has to put, my toothpaste on my toothbrush every morning because I just something simple like that, I can't do it. it
you know what? I
I
can't do
just
that either. So I get that.
really it
But the way that I get around it is instead of putting the toothpaste on the toothbrush, is I just squeeze a little bit out of the bottle and put it on my tongue, and then take
okay.
the toothbrush and swipe it off my tongue and brush my teeth that way.
Oh, wow. Okay. I never thought of that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, my dad used to drive like for work a lot, and so he was like, "Yeah, that's what I used to do when I was in my truck, so try that." And I was like, "Okay."
Mhm.
And that's what I've done every day since.
That's a great idea. I never ever would have thought of that.
Yeah, definitely t connecting with other blind people is a really amazing process because,
Mhm.
like you said, as much as somebody with sight can empathize and sympathize and can like assist and whatever, they will never truly understand what's going on. They will never
Right.
understand the emotions you're feeling or the limitations or, your mindset. They will never get that.
Mm-mm. You're
So
right.
like connecting with other blind people and like when I first went blind, I was really against the idea of I didn't want to do support groups. I didn't want to go to the Kansas State School for the Blind. I didn't want to do it because for me, talking to other blind people was basically admitting the fact that I would never see again.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that was the hardest part. But
Mm-hmm.
after realizing there was one person, he was the first interview I ever did on this podcast. His name was Rich. The first person that I ever met when I was blind was the first blind person I ever met while I was blind. His name was Rich, and he basically taught me very early on, like, this is not the end of the world. It doesn't have to be. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that like that was such an amazing thing. So if you're gonna do anything, connect with other blind people, whether it's a Facebook group or anything. It's so important to talk to people who can have the same relative perspective as you.
Right. That they understand.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I need to. I'm gonna get Tyler to look up some groups because that would probably be just so refreshing to talk. I mean, it's even nice with you, like to be honest, you're the first person I've talked to that is also blind. Um, so that would be, I need to do that. I definitely need to.
It's eye-opening, ironically, but um So you talk about God a lot in your videos. You always talk about like the power of religion and the power of God. And
Mhm.
so how has he kind of helped you through this process? What have you kind of put in his hands to allow you to kind of keep moving forward?
I just, I when I'm praying and I'm like, God, I know I'm going through this for a reason, and I just, I'm surrendering it to you. And um, I know, and I actually had my priest. I talked to my priest about it, and he had told me, whenever you're going through something, when all of this, especially I started, when you're going through this, he said, God is with you more now than ever. Um, and that just always stuck with me. And so I pray more than I've ever prayed. And I just offered up to him, like, God, it's in your hands. And if it was not for like my faith, and actually going blind has even strengthened my faith more. I mean, I feel God now more than I ever did. And I know, and I'll say it to anybody, if it was not for God, I would be a miserable person. I
Mhm.
would be absolutely miserable. It's because of him that I feel like that I'm able to get through this. And I thank him every night, and I pray every night to give me the strength I need and my family, and to open our hearts to accept the strength that, he will offer to us. And I mean, I just know if it wasn't for him, I would not, I would be just absolutely miserable.
Mhm.
I've never felt closer to God than I do now as someone who's blind. I don't know if it's because I need him more than I ever did. And I feel him, and I thank him every night because I'd be lost. I love my faith. I love my religion, and I lean on that through everything.
Yeah. I mean it's I think for a lot of blind people that's kind of a hard thing to understand is like for some people who have lost their sight later in life, there's that feeling of why did God do this to me or like
Hmm.
what is the purpose of this? Like why would he curse me with something like this? And I mean, I
Hmm.
especially for me when I first went blind, my thoughts were why does God hate me so much that he would do something like this for me?
Hmm.
So, what is like your mindset and how do you get past the like, oh, this happened to me because, God did this to me. We should blame God. Like how do you get past that?
I just always know, even though I always think it is something that I don't understand, but I know that this is happening to me for some reason, even if I can't, if it's just to inspire anybody or just to let people know that even if, you can lose your vision or anything, not even necessarily vision loss, but at, later in life for any time. But the way I have to do is, even though I don't understand it, I know that there's a reason for it that's bigger than I might be able to understand. So I just feel he's telling me to use it in a positive way,
Mhm.
just to let people know things that can be done, and just let people know that if you put your faith in God, he will get you through it. And some people think I'm crazy for saying things like that, but it's how I've gotten through it. I
Mhm.
just know that there's a reason for it, and I'll know one day. And I just wish everybody would know that if they just believe, okay, you just have to have faith and know that there is a reason that we go through certain things, and we might not know, but there's a reason, if you just to help
Mhm.
somebody or inspire somebody or even get closer to God and grow in your faith. That's how I've gotten through it, to be 100% honest, is because of that. And because I know that there's a reason for it,
Absolutely.
and I know it's okay for me to cry when I'm having a bad day, and it's okay, and God know I'm human, and I just feel like now, with everything that goes on in my life, I try to look at it that way. Okay, if I can get through this, I can get through anything. I
Exactly.
just, yes.
I was told something when I first went blind, and I'm not a very religious person, but this really kind of struck me and it kind of stayed with me. Um, and it was like the remark of God doesn't give you things that you can't handle. He doesn't,
Hmm.
he doesn't, he doesn't invite you into his army if he doesn't think that you're ready.
Right.
And so
Right.
even as someone who is not super religious, I was able to latch onto that and was able to find hope in knowing that, like, yes, everything does happen for a reason. And even if
Mhm.
that reason isn't, to change the lives of every person on earth, it's maybe
Right.
that one person that really, really needs it, in some random July in the middle of, the next 20 years will
Hmm.
maybe I'll help somebody then. And even if it's just that one person, like that's important. That's just as important as helping thousands and thousands of people.
Oh yeah. Right. You are so right. That's how I feel. You never know who you can inspire or what you might say that somebody needs to hear. Even if it's somebody that can see, you don't know.
Hmm. I think one thing that's been kind of really hard for me, especially, is having people think that it's kind of the worst case scenario. Like I
Mhm.
always hear the term like, "Oh my God, I have no idea what I would do if I was you," or "If I was you, I would kill
Mhm.
myself," or "If I was you, I would do
Mhm.
this." And I'm like, that means that you think that there is nothing on this planet that could be worse than me being blind.
Yeah.
And I think we need to kind of change that terminology to say, like, this is not the worst thing at all. Like, especially in 2024, like, this is not the worst thing that's going on right now.
Mhm. Oh,
And
yeah, exactly.
so I
Like,
think,
yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, if because I've heard those remarks too. Like, yeah, it sucks, but it could be this isn't the worst thing that can happen to anybody. Could be a lot worse,
Hmm.
even though it sucks. But
Yeah, like for me, when I went blind, I have a disorder that causes me to swell from my mucous membranes when I'm under high amounts of stress. So I
oh,
went blind when I was 15, due to immense pressure in my eyes that cut off circulation to my optic nerves.
mm,
And I went blind in
oh,
4
wow.
hours, and
Oh,
the
wow.
swelling was so severe, like I have had swelling like that before, but it's never cut off circulation to my optic nerves before. But
Mhm.
before in times like it's shut down my organs, it's like closed my throat, it's like done these things to me
Wow.
that could kill me. And I'm like, losing my sight was not the worst thing that could have happened.
Absolutely not. Oh, wow.
Um,
Wow.
So what is your strategy for like getting through day by day, step by step? Is it, having that faith in God and knowing that, everything happens for a reason, even if I, stub my toe or run into a wall or something, like
Hmm.
there's a purpose to that? Is that kind of how you get through it?
Well, no, and I'm not gonna. I mean, to me, the hardest part of the day is when I wake up in the morning. Because of course, I dream still, like I can
Mm-hmm.
see,
You can see,
and
yeah.
the hardest part is waking up in the morning. And um, some days, I'm like, oh, I'm good to go, and other days, I've just like just I get sad about it. I get like I've even I've had a couple of panic attacks in the morning just because it was just such a rough start. Just
Mm-hmm.
waking up and just like oh my gosh, like this is just how can I get through this today? And I know, like I said, I'll say a prayer, and sometimes, most of the times, it's good days, but I have those bad ones where like God, like I'm gonna need you even more today than yesterday, and because there's days, I'll be walking, I'll run into the door jam, and oh, I can get so mad.
Mm,
I get so
yes, I
mad. I'm
feel.
like, oh, it gets so frustrating. And or I'll run into, my dining room table, I'll hit my side or my leg, and I get so mad over that. And I'm like, God, like I just take a breather. I'm like, okay, just move on. And some days it's harder to deal with that than others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I like, run into something or, like walk into because I walked into the wall or anything like that, like to be the first thing I'm not thinking is like, oh well, why is there's a reason for why I'm running into this wall. Like it's just something I was like, okay, get mad and get over it. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you need to curse, drop a few curse words or just swear, and okay, move on. Don't let it ruin your day. It's gonna happen. Get mad for a few seconds and move on. That's the strategy I have to use. Just can be mad for a little bit and just get over it, and it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, that's really important is to be able to feel your emotions and not kind of put
Mhm.
them down and push them back. Being able to actually
Right.
like say the curse words and, give out the little
Yeah.
scream sometimes. So important.
You have to react.
You have to react.
Hmm.
Um, so sometimes I have dreams where I like, because obviously you went blind at a later age, so you still have visual memory, so you can still see when you dream.
Hmm.
That's why I can still see when I dream. And I sometimes get dreams where like it's so realistic and I like, will, come into a room and be like, "Oh my gosh, I can see. This is so exciting."
Hmm.
And then you wake up and it's like, "Oh, it was a
Yep.
dream."
Yep. Yes, it's funny you say that because just last week I had a dream to where I was in my kitchen and I could see my cabinet. I mean, I could see everything. No, it was in black and white, but I could still see. And I'm like, oh my God, like I can see again, like it's coming back. I said, I don't
Mhm.
care if it's in black and white. I was so excited. And then I woke up and I'm like, okay, why can I not see? Like, why is it black? Like I thought I got my vision back.
Mhm.
And then it hit me. I was like, you were dreaming. And it was just such a gut kick, like a
Yeah.
slap in the face from reality. And I ended up crying to Tyler about it the next day. I was like, you just sucked. I said, because I woke up, I'm like, why can I not see? I said, because I was just dreaming that it came back. Said it was in black and white, but I didn't care. I said, so I was so excited and to wake up and no, you were just dreaming.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking. It's
Mhm.
literally such a
It
cruel
is.
joke.
It really is.
Um, so I have one final question for you, and that is, say there is somebody that is going through your situation, say that they have a family that they, weren't blind before and they are now. What advice do
Mhm.
you have to that person to help them get through their everyday life?
My advice is to just, I mean, you have to take it day at a time. You have to give yourself time to adjust, which, 2 years later, I'm still adjusting. You have to just find what new ways to do the old things you did. You can still do them. Obviously, I mean, not drive or anything like that, but you have to find your new way to do these things, and hopefully, if they have a great support system, just sit and talk with your spouse or your parent or whoever's there to if you have somebody there to help you and y'all just figure out what works for y'all. You just that's what helped me and my family. And you learn day by day like what exactly you need to do. Like Tyler know what to do to help me just do simple, like I said, with my toothbrush or anything like that, or putting the clothes, I'll fold them, but he'll put the clothes up. And you just have to know it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, we're still trying to figure it out sometimes,
Hmm.
and know it's going to be some frustrating moments, but you'll get through it. You have to give yourself time to grieve and to adjust and just find new ways to do the things that you did, and it'll come back and it'll eventually, it'll, it'll, it'll start to become a new normal is what happened with me. It's my new normal now and it's okay. You just have to find what works best for you and your family, but you can do it. It's just you have to find what suits you of what helps you. So there's always a way to do something that you used to be able to do, and just be patient is the biggest thing. Be
Be
patient.
patient. Yeah. I wish someone would have told me that when I first went blind. Just like, girl, just be
Right.
patient.
Just be patient. I know.
Like, because every day it just feels like, yeah. And I mean, I'm 5 years into it. You're what, 3 years, 3.5?
Uh, no, about two, uh, not quite 2.5.
Yeah. So we're, still adjust every day. I'm
Right.
sure somebody who's been blind for 50 years is still adjusting every single day.
Oh, yeah,
It's all about just taking
absolutely.
the grain.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well, this has been probably one of my favorite interviews I've ever done.
Oh, that's so awesome. I have someone, I feel like I've known you forever. It was so comfortable talking with you.
Oh, girl, I love it. Okay. Okay. Not me crying. It's okay. Anyway, so this this has been Blind Dates with Jay Walker. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to reach out at blinddatesjw@gmail.com. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram at the_real_J_Walker. Follow us on Facebook at Blind Dates W/J Walker. The W is with a slash because I am too lazy to write out with. So this has been my beautiful guest, Miss Judith Adams. Judith, do you have any sort of social media? I'm sure you want to blast your TikTok.
Yeah, I do. I have a TikTok and a Facebook. It's just the Blind Cajun Cook, and y'all just y'all can hear me dropping some curse words here and there, and hear my husband trying to help me what to do. But we just having a good old time. If y'all want to check it out,
All right. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you
it
so much for
has.
joining me. And
Thank you so much, Jay.
this has been Blind Dates.